Hey Patriots, welcome to Patriot Life with Candace Keller, where we are doing no more talk, no more tyranny. Get educated, get involved, or get out of the way. That is what we say every time I meet with you here on Patriot Life. So again, please reach out to me at patriotamerica76@gmail.com if you want to ask me questions or talk to me. And sometimes I'll call you if you want me to. And patriotamerica76.com is our website. Please check it out. A lot of the things that I mention to you on our podcast every day that I'm on here is posted on our website. So we're trying to make it as easy as we can for you to fight tyranny and take back our country. I am still offering our Patriot Pack to you. I'm talking about it every time I'm on here now because we've had such demand for them. A Patriot Pack has all of the narratives in it that you need and the law listing face mask. I haven't read this in a while, but let me just read this to you. A face mask is legally designated as a medical device by the FDA. This is on all 50 states in this country. Section 201H, Definition 2. Therefore, in every state, including Ohio, face masks are regulated as a medical device. Even just recommending that someone wear a regulated medical device is the unlicensed practice of medicine, according to ORC 4731.34 and 41. This violation in the state of Ohio is a fifth-degree felony. It's also, I happen to know it is also a fifth-degree felony in the state of Indiana, and probably a lot of other states. We also have the law listed in here regarding forced mandated vaccinations, which are completely illegal in this country. It's a violation of your privacy. And we include, this is a $35 pack we send out. I send it out to you as quickly as I can. The Art of War, a classic, fabulous book, Sun Tzu. Everybody needs to own this book and read it. It's a very short read. We'll send out Ohio Constitution to you for free, of course, because we got them for free. Doctrine of the Lesser Magistrates, which is a tremendous book that will help us understand local government and how we can take back our country. Again, I think it's like 69 pages. I read it frequently to understand the power that we have as patriots. So I wanted to talk to you today. If you are still under threat of losing your job, I know everybody in the world is struggling with this same thing. We are continuing to research through the law what is available to you for ammunition you can use in the workplace. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I did serve in the Ohio House for 4.5 interesting years under 4 speakers. 3 of them were or are under FBI investigation right now for corruption and bribery and racketeering and the like. So I studied the Constitution and have for years now, and as we have all come under such tyranny, as I've said before, tyrants cannot be reasoned with. Ask any civilization that's ever tried it. They must be removed. And so we have to replace the legislators who are working against us or doing nothing right now. House Bill 248 in Ohio, what a nightmare. This legislature is kicking the can down the road. Just quickly, I'll tell you that House Bill 248 is the medical freedom bill introduced in March. This is September. They had 6 hearings, went on a long Easter break, came back, went on a long summer break. They're still not back. And this is, what is this, September, late September. And they're just now heading back. Meantime, you're losing your job and they're like trying to decide what they know, which is nothing, apparently. So House Bill 248 is the only bill we care about. They removed Householder from the House in 8 days. We've sat on this bill for 6 months. They passed House Bill 6, the nightmare kickback first energy bill that took down the speaker, in 38 days. So I think they've had enough time to pass House Bill 248. Okay. I won't talk any more about that. Anyway, we have an exemption letter for you to use. This is off of our website. It's signed by you personally because you're really the only person that matters. You don't need your pastor. You don't need a doctor. They're not going to sign it anyway. They're going to be held liable, and they don't want to. And it doesn't mean anything anyway because apparently your company thinks they have the authority to discern whether your religion or your doctrine is legitimate. Where they think they have this authority from, I do not know. So I'm going to read to you quickly your exemption letter. This is from you to your employer. It simply states the law. I'm exempt from any forced vaccinations and requested information regarding personal religious exemption based on the following law. Ohio Constitution, Article 2, Section 1B states to be considered an emergency measure, a law must explicitly state that it is being passed as an emergency measure and it must receive a 2/3 vote in each house. The determination of whether a law is an emergency is within the sole discretion of the legislature and is not subject to judicial review. Therefore, no public health emergency has been presently declared in Ohio. Do you understand that? We're not under public health emergency. There's no law, nothing. No order has been given the authority from the legislature because the power is held in the legislature because it's the people. So both our Ohio and U.S. constitutions protect the rights of workers and promote their welfare. U.S. Constitution, Article 4, this is very important, Article 4, states that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, their houses, their papers, your vaccination papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So that right there shuts down anybody knowing your personal information. A person's religious preferences are private and cannot be demanded or seized by any government authority. Frivolous requests for such information are invasive and outside the boundaries of authority of any employer or government agency. This is the law in every state. Company and or store policy is always superseded by the law, therefore are not held to a higher standard than the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code, and they are null and void. The Ohio Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 7, indicates that any interference with the rights of conscience that demand the filling out of a form is an interference and intrusion into the rights of conscience, which are guaranteed in the Ohio Constitution. Pursuant to FDA 21 U.S. Code 360b3, medical products granted for EUA may not be made compulsory. Remember, the vaccination is still emergency use only in this country, and it will remain so for a number of years. Such products may only be administered in a voluntary fashion and only with fully informed consent. So mandates of experimental vaccines or any pressure or coercion to consent to them violates federal law. Federal law. Businesses who threaten employees without freedom of choice are liable for damages according to the FDA approval process. Additionally, the Ohio Revised Code 134710 states a person who is harmed by the use of personal information that relates to him and that is maintained in a personal information system may recover damages in a civil action from any person who directly and proximately caused the harm by doing any of the following. And I have listed number 2, intentionally using or disclosing the personal information in a manner prohibited by the law. Intrusion into personal religious freedom, medical history, or other matters covered under the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code's right to privacy laws is against the law. Forced termination of employment due to such violations shall be dealt with in a court of law, as it is a violation of right to privacy, freedom of religion, and freedom of speech. These rights are guaranteed and protected under the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code. That's all the exemption you need. Hand that to your employer, sign it, say, here's my exemption, and then wait and see what happens. We also have a 5-page, 13-question questionnaire for you to hand to your employer for them to fill out, not you. They need to fill it out listing what the liability will be if you should take a vaccination and you are injured, if you have to go in workers' comp, if you have to go in disability, or if you die. So these are questions that your employer needs to be asked. You are not in a position where they're simply going to be riddling you with questions without any response from you. You are not a slave. When they say to you, we need you to fill this out, whatever your HR department says, I would say, thanks so much for giving that to me. Now I have something for you to fill out. And hand them this and say, I need you to fill this out and I'll get back with you shortly. That's what I'd say. They're going to be taken aback, but it doesn't matter. This is already going on a downward spiral anyway. And They clearly have no respect for you, actually, to demand anything of you after all the years of service you've put in at your place of employment. Ask the nurses in Ohio how they feel about the hospitals right now, treating them the way they have been treated after 18 months of serving on the front lines, and probably most of them have had COVID themselves, and then now having demands made of them. So there's also a form that you need to give to them. This is a letter asking them for their credentials of who is determining what exemption is legit or not. It's a great question. You need to get to the root of everything. So here's what this says to the employer. Thank you for the exemption form that you recently delivered to me. I will address this to the extent that you are able to demonstrate your lawful authority to ask these questions of me. Please provide me in writing the specific authority by which you have interfered with my access to my workplace and otherwise prevented me from performing my duties under my contract of employment. If you're claiming to derive your authority by means of contract, please provide a copy certified thereof with specific reference to the relevant section. If you claim that you're acting under operation of law, please provide a copy of the relevant statute and the delegation of authority which empowers you to act. All company policy must be in line with state law. In the event that a court of competent jurisdiction should find you've exceeded your authority or have otherwise acted wrongly in this matter, please provide an appropriate document over your signature, and including to reimburse me for actual damages suffered due to such wrongful action, as well as reasonable attorney's fees. Please note that your interference with my ability to perform my contractual duties as an employee at this company on the basis of your arbitrary view of my personal health decisions and firmly held religious beliefs may constitute discrimination and harassment and a violation of both state and federal law. Please provide the written standards where you customarily determine whether you will recognize medical or religious exemption of employees at this company, and please also provide proof of when and by whom these standards were adopted and when they were last revised. Also, please list the credentials of those members who determine the validity or acceptance of either my own personal health matters or my religious beliefs. What are their qualifications? What are their employment histories, their arrest or felony records? Did they reside in this state, and how much are they compensated for doing this? Please be advised that every verbal communication by you to me may be recorded as allowed under Ohio law. Your consent to such recordings being expressed or assumed by your decision to communicate with me verbally, as is stated under state law. So there are some questions that your employer needs to, and then you sign that and date it. We came up with our group of attorneys as some questions that you need to ask your employer. So I understand the hard position that you all are finding yourselves in. I'm hearing about it every day. I'm getting tons and tons of emails and phone calls from you. Please learn to stand on your rights and know that your paycheck, your liberty is worth more than a paycheck to you. There are lots and lots of jobs. You're being disrespected in the workplace by your employers, and it's time for you to go on offense and stand for your rights. You've been a good employee, you've done the work, and now it's time for you to ask some questions. So with that, I think I've covered everything on employer rights today. Please email me at patriotamerica76@gmail.com or reach out to me at patriotamerica76.com. Thanks so much.